Hunter Biden is not expected to appear before a House committee for public testimony this week. His lawyer dismissing the whole thing as a carnival sideshow. Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer joined me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures. He thinks Hunter will show up this week. Comer also told me he is preparing to send out multiple criminal referrals. Now, watch.
There were massive discrepancies between what 3 of Hunter Biden's business associates said pertaining to Hunter's involvement and pertaining to President Biden's involvement versus what Hunter testified. I fully expect Hunter Biden to show up. If he does not show up, then it's not going to end well for the Bidens, because we have 3 witnesses that are testified, that have already testified under oath.
How many criminal referrals are you expecting to make?
There are going to be multiple criminal referrals. The evidence is overwhelming. Just because the media and the White House want to indoctrinate America and say there's no evidence, that doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of evidence of criminal wrongdoing by the Biden family.
Doug Collins, these criminal referrals have to do with FARA, the Foreign Agents Law. It has to do with potential bribery, money laundering. Your reaction here ahead of this public hearing, where I don't know if Hunter Biden's going to show up or not.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. It's interesting to me that the chairman thinks that Hunter will still show up. I think when they put him on that panel where he's not center stage and he'd also have to refute what they're going to say, I think was the part that Hunter said he didn't really want to participate in that. And then he's got the threat of contempt. What is interesting to me, though, in this whole situation, Maria, is that if they do the criminal referrals, which, should be taken seriously, I feel like that probably what's going to happen is they're going to fall on deaf ears at the Merrick Garland Department of Justice. That's the part that the American people are not going to understand. It's good that this is being pointed out, but it does need to be made aware that it's the Department of Justice that would have to prosecute this. And so far, they've turned a blind eye to anything almost Hunter Biden or Joe Biden or any of the rest of the Biden family that has been involved in any of this. Again, why is it Congress that is having to expose criminal activity when Department of Justice should be? And so far, they basically dismissed it. So, look, this is a way to get at the Biden family outside of the impeachment inquiry that they're doing because of the tight votes in the House. But again, you're going to have to depend on the Department of Justice to actually enforce these going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Liz, can the Department of Justice keep blowing this off even as we see these different stories? I mean, one of the reasons that they've got to go forward with this public hearing, even if Hunter Biden doesn't show up, is because the stories do not match up. President Biden has said repeatedly he had no involvement whatsoever in his son's business. Hunter Biden says the same thing, yet Tony Bobulinski says he met with Joe Biden twice on May 2nd and May 3rd. 2017 at a dinner, a sideline meeting from the Milken Conference. This is just one of many meetings that we've heard from these whistleblowers where Joe Biden was calling into meetings or having dinner with him and his partners.
Yeah, Maria, I think there's just too much evidence here to completely disregard what the House has been up to. And it really is offensive to me that the media is just ignoring it. Democrats are calling for this thing to go away, dismissing and deriding the effort of the House committee to get to the bottom of this. What they have is tens of thousands of emails that put Joe Biden in the center of conversations with Hunter Biden and his relatives, and also people like Tony Bobulinski, by the way, who I consider a very credible source on all of this, and he has been available to the media since 2020, and almost nobody has bothered to actually interview him and ask what went on. I think they absolutely have to have criminal referrals at this point. First of all, the media cannot ignore that. They will have to report it. And I think some Americans are going to say, whoa, criminal for what? What are they talking about? Because they haven't even heard what all this evidence has been put before the House committee. Secondly, frankly, Republicans need a reason to go out and campaign for re-election, Maria. I mean, right now, the House is being made fun of, if you will, ridiculed by Democrats across the country as being do nothing and they're wasting their time, they can't get organized, et cetera. This would be a very firm step forward in showing the American people who voted for these people to be in the House and to take control of the House that it was worth their effort and that they deserve re-election. I think they need that.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is potential perjury. I mean, Doug, can the DOJ ignore potential perjury? Let's remember that James Biden 3 times said he had nothing to do with anything and Joe Biden had nothing to do with anything, but he was also at the meeting with Bobulinski on May 2nd and May 3rd. He said he's never met with any of Hunter Biden's partners and he wasn't part of the meeting, but he was there at that dinner that Tony Bobulinski is telling us about. So the question becomes, did he or anybody here commit perjury?
Yeah, I mean, Maria, how many times have you and I done this over the last few years and talked about a Department of Justice, the inter-corruption at the Department of Justice, and then the blatant turning of a blind eye by this administration? Should they pay attention? Yes, they should pay attention. Should they be at the forefront of this? Yes, they should be at the forefront of this, but they're not. And I think I agree with Liz. This needs to move forward so that the American people can show what the Republicans in the House have been doing. I'm not as thoughtful that the media would actually report this, except for one time in an offshoot going forward. Here's the problem that you got to deal with. You got to deal with a Department of Justice that is playing blocker, it appears, for the Biden family. And in going forward here, should they be looking at perjury? Yes. Is it right there documented? Yes. But you also got to remember that this is also the same Department of Justice that has ignored this and also had a special prosecutor who came to the Hill last week and basically said he's incapable of standing trial for this because he doesn't remember enough, but yet he's okay to be president. That can't be held in the same hands, and yet this is a Department of Justice that lets this get away with.
Yep, all true. Let's take a short break and then come back to this.